All right, so this is what we had last time. What we're going to do first is actually make just a basic CSS grid system, and then we'll actually apply it to our text below. So before we got to do is just inside the style. So inside the style, I'm just going to go ahead and add the code that I need. So we're going to make 12 columns. So if you remember, in a typical grid system, there's 12 columns, and you can have however many rows you need for your website. So I'm going to make 3 different classes of columns, and then make each one of those the correct size. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make one called COL -1. Okay, so that means it's if I attach this to an element, it's going to make it 1 column width big. All right, so we're going to go like that, 1 column width big. Okay, and then all we're going to do is we're going to add 2 properties to this. One is going to be width, and the other one's just going to be float left. All right. So for the width, what I want to do is I need it to be going across the screen, right? So imagine that if this is my browser window, right? So all the way from here, all the way to the other side, right? That is the full width. So that's 100%. I want this to be 1/12 of that. So the easiest way to do that is I'm just going to look up the calculator app here just so you can see. So just so you get an idea of how we came up with these numbers. So if I just take 100, and if I divide it by 12, I'll end up with 8.333333. Okay, so that means each column needs to be 8.3333%. That is 1/12 of 100%. Okay, so we're going to do width, and we're going to do 8.33. I'm not doing a million 0.33. It's like that percent. And that'll be good for that. And then the other thing I want to do is just make sure that we do float left, okay? And I'm just going to do this just to make it a little bit easier, all right? And so basically it means if I put this on there and if it's 1 column, it's going to make the width of that element or whatever's inside of the div that is contained within this, it's going to make it only 0.833, which is 1/12 of the screen. And the float left is just to make sure that it snaps and goes to the left side, and that also, if they stack, it'll actually wrap and like they'll reconfigure themselves going downwards. Okay, so now we need to do is just make all the rest of them for each column, and it's actually pretty easy. So the easiest way to do this, actually, I'm just going to copy this, Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac, Control V for paste. Let's just back this thing up, and then we'll just do backspace Control V. Enter Control V, enter Control V, enter Control V, enter Control V, enter Control V. I don't know how many I just did. We'll just do that for now. I'm just going to try and do this as quickly as possible so you're not watching me type a whole bunch. Otherwise, these videos get quite long. Come on, I'm clicking on it. Please go where I click. I always have to click twice for some reason. I don't know why that is. Okay, so that'll be column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, come on, column 5, we'll just do arrows, 6, 7, 8, okay, that's as far as I got, so let's just keep going. We need 4 more. Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, all right, and then we're just gonna make sure these are all backed up correctly, backed up, and backed up, tab, all right, so 8, 9, 10, 11, oops, I didn't mean to do that, and 12. Okay, now we don't want them all to be 8.33. That's the first one. If it takes 2 columns, it needs to be twice what that is. So you could just take the 8.33 and multiply it times 2, which is actually what I'm going to do. I'm not going to show you the math because you get the idea. It's just going to be 16.66, and then we'll get rid of that. Okay, and then if it's 3, that's just going to be 25%, right? Because if you take 12 and divide by 3, you end up with 1/4. So that'll be 25, and then it'll be 33.33, and then it will be 41 point. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Where'd you go? 41.66. And then it will be, so if it's 6, right, that's just 50%, right? That's halfway through. So 0.6 means it'll take up 50% of it because that would be 6 rows across. All right. Then for 7, it'll be 58.33, and 8 will be 66.66. So 8 is the column of the devil. Actually, that's too many 6s, but you get the idea. Let me see. 9 would be 75. 75. Delete. And then, let's see. 10 would be 83.33. That kind of worked out. Oops. Let's go down more, please. And 11 is 91. 91.66. And then this is just obviously 100%. Okay. All right. And so now what we did is we just made it that each one of those is going to be, it's gonna cover that much of the screen. Okay. That's great. So that's our columns. That'll work fine for what we're starting with here. Okay. The next thing I need to do is I need to make my rows, right? So it's columns and rows. It's not just columns. So in order to make the row system work, we're going to do a dot row, but I don't want to do just a the row itself. I'm going to do after. So you do boom, boom, 2 of those, and then after, which is a pseudo element, which means after that, whatever element that class is attached to, after it, you're going to apply what I'm making now. Okay. We didn't really cover those that much, but there's also before. I'm trying to think of other ones, but there's other ones too. So basically what I want to do is I want to do content, and we're going to put, oops, not that one, quotes, oops, single quotes. And the idea here was just making sure that there's nothing in there. If I just put empty quotes in, it means it's going to remove, there's nothing in what's after it, so we're clearing it out. The whole idea with the row, honestly, is to basically force it to start on a new line and to clear out anything that might be there so that it starts next. So this next part is clear, and then we're going to say both sides, and then the display, and we're going to do table. Again, that's just going to help it stay in a organized, more table-like. Where'd you go? Went far down. Okay, table-like manner, and it's going to make it so that it starts on the next bit here. Okay, and then lastly, we just want to do this thing. So not exclamation. It's asterisk. Asterisk means it applies to everything. So all elements are going to have this apply to it. Okay, so generally speaking, you don't want to use these. Usually I just use body if you want it to be in the entirety of it, but we're just going to do this. And oops, I meant to hit delete. Okay, and what we want to do is we're just going to say box sizing, and we want it to be border box. Okay, and the reasoning for this is that we want all elements to have border box by box sizing. So what that means is that if for some reason, whatever class this has that this is attached to, if it has a border or it has padding, it'll include that in its overall width. So for instance, if I had, like, let's just do this one. Let's say it's supposed to be 50%, but it also has a border. What would happen is that the element would be 50%, but then the border would be after that. And then if there's padding, it would push it even farther, and it would end up taking more than 50%. That's the default way that it will work. By doing the border box, it will say everything's got to fit inside of there. So that's the reason why we're using the border box. Okay. So from here, what you can do is just go ahead and save it. So file, save. And if you preview it, what you're going to notice is that nothing happens. And we'll explain that in the next one.